Hello you lovely lot, and welcome to the beautiful Hampton Springs Fishery, where I'm going to be going over another basics episode for you today, folks. And in particular, this one is for all you rod lovers. Cheeky. So if you just want a day on the rods, or you don't own a pole, then basically this is one for you. So all you need is a waggler rod and a feeder rod, and I'm going to be showing you the areas to target. Pretty much similar to what you would be doing if you did have a pole, fishing sort of across two islands if you can reach them, fishing down the middle somewhere and then down the edges. So first off, we'll be covering a little method feeder, casting to the islands. Then we're going to be covering waggler, fishing down the middle, sort of like 16 or 18 metres, not too far. And then later on, hopefully we'll get something in the edge, down the margins, where we're just going to underarm a little babby method. I'm going to be going through obviously the techniques, the feeding strategies and why I'm doing it, but it's such a lovely day's fishing, going sort of like back to basics if you like with a rod. But as I say, plenty of you out there who don't own a pole, so this is definitely one for you. So first things first, we're going to start off with the method. So we'll go through that one first. Now, again, you don't need, there's so much gear out there to choose from, folks. You don't need expensive gear, just whatever fits your budget, that'll work for you. The main thing is getting the sort of like the intricate things right, like the feeders and certainly the feeding, the hooks, the bait. That's the things that you need to get right. First things first, we'll start off from reel size. So ideally nothing above sort of like a 4,000 reel for your feeder on these kind of casts. We're not going to be casting far, up to sort of 30 yards, that's all. So 4,000 size. Reel line, I want to say for feeder it needs to be sort of like £6 minimum up to like £8. If you go any heavier than that or thicker line than that, then basically there's going to be too much friction for your rod rings. You're not going to be getting the distance if you're using a lighter feeder. So this one, for example, is loaded with £8. We've just got a 10-foot feeder rod here, and I've got the lightest. This comes with 3 tips. It comes with, I think, a ½ ounce, a 3/4 ounce, and an ounce tip. And I've just got the lightest tip in today. The reason I want to go for a lighter tip is so I can pick up on all them little tiny babby line bites and that. And then there's not as much resistance at that end, so when the fish does pick your bait up, it's not going to sort of like bolt or anything and spook off. Now coming down to the feeder, let me just get this bad boy out for you. Is that all right down there, Rich? We just hold that down there? Rich is saying yes it is. So all we've got on, folks, really simple, is an ICS feeder system basically. So these come like that, yeah? So basically the tail rubber goes on first, and then you put the main stem on. Then you get like a, I always forget the blooming name of these, folks. There's like a quick changey hook thing where you can, if you want to, open that up at the bottom, and then you can take your hook length out and you can change your hook length throughout the day. That is the versatility of this system, ICS system. It's absolutely bang on. For starters, we've gone for, that is a size 16 KKH hook to 0.19 line, and they are there. If it zooms in on them, that's what we've got. These yards on it, yeah, with a little spiker on. I'm going to be fishing like a 6mm wafter. We'll talk through bait in a sec, but basically that system allows me to change from a method feeder. I could put like a pellet feeder on if I wanted to, or I can even just stick a ledger bomb on. But for the time being, we are going to be going with a method feeder for today's session. That is fishing across and down the edge. So nice and simple setup. As I said, the hooks are best straight out of the packet, folks. I'm not just saying that simply because of the right length. You don't want anything too long. Around about 4 inches is about right. So that is that one talked through. And then we'll go through the waggler setup, which again, so simple, folks. There's nothing complicated with this style of fishing at all. The difference being is your waggler rod just needs to be that little bit longer, just because there's a little bit of line pickup, that's all. Obviously, method, feeder, things like that, it's all self-hooking. When you're on a float, you've got to set the hook themselves. Unless you're on pegs like Jamie and the fish just hook themselves anyway, but joking apart, you've got to set the hook. So reel size, again, you could go with a 4,000. I've gone for a little bit smaller, it's a 3,000 size reel. But, 4,000, nothing wrong with that. Main line is a little bit lighter on this one. I've gone for £4. Reason for that is because I'm only using a light float. I don't want, again, too much friction for your rod rings, but again, as long as you're not going any lighter than sort of like a 2.5 gram float, you can get away with £6 line, no trouble at all. So as I said, 12-foot rod, just a standard match rod, and then coming down or going up to the float, I've already plumb the depth. I'll touch on how we plumb the depth when we actually get fishing on this, folks. I'm not going to bore you to start with. It's a pellet waggler system. I'm going to get it in here. I think I've got one in here. If I've not, I do apologise. Rich can put something on screen later on. Have I got it in here? Well, basically, it's that system, or a variation of that. So it's a stock pellets waggler system. You basically put your rubber on first, and then you've got your little swivel, and then you put rubber on the bottom, and then you can see either side of that I've just got some number 8 stocks, just to bring that bristle of the float down, just so it's not sort of like sticking too high out of the water, basically. But then we'll move quite easy on the line. See how easily they're moving on the line. So if I need to change depth, if I need to go a little bit deeper, if it's windy or whatever, or I might want to pick a new swim and it might be a little bit deeper, shallower, I can move them nice and easily on my line. I've just gone for a 2 gram float today. Loaded or unloaded, it's personal preference, but personally I don't want to put big shots around my line. And that system, how easy is that, folks? And obviously with that snap link system there, that can just undo and I can change that float nice and easy. Now coming down the line, I've just got a series of 3, one there, number 9 stots, one there, and then one on the hook length. Now hook length wise, I've actually tied this one myself, folks, because I like to use a little bit longer hook length than the norm that you can get out of the packet. So I've gone for like 8-inch minimum up to sort of like 10 inches, just because it allows that nice natural fall through the water. And it is on 0.16, got 0.16 AccuPower, and it's the exact same hook as what we've got for a Method. So a 16 KKH, just with a simple band on. Just get that band out of there so you can see. Zoom in on that, Richard. Easy on it? Ease on it, yeah. Just a simple medium-sized band that I can get a 6 or an 8mm pellet in. Now on the waggler line, I'm going to be feeding smaller pellets and banding a bigger one. We'll go through baits now. So I see the setups are really easy. Now, again, I'm not going to go through loads with this, folks. We've done so many on how to prepare bait, but basically it's just like 1.5 pints of micros. I've soaked them for 30 seconds, put them in a big tub. I've dyed some red, the krill and squid, Sonny Baits red. Personal preference, you don't need to do that. This is what I'm going to be using for the Method. Now, Rich actually came up with this before, and I thought it's a great idea to limit how much bait you're feeding. Because down the edge I'm going to be priming that with little balls of micros. What you can do is use your Method mould, fill that up. He's a genius, is Richard. Fill that up, press that out into your hand, and you get the perfect ball there. And then you can just squeeze that, make it into a little ball, and then just feed that down the edge, like so. Absolutely bang on. And it limits you from like feeding too much. But I'm going to be pinging in a few pellets there as well. So we've got some 4mm, and we've got some 6mm pellets as well. Now, the reason for both is that you don't need loads of bait. It's only like 1.5 pints in there. I want to feed the 4mm to get the fish grubbing around more. This is for the waggler, but I've got 6s just in case that wind gets up a little bit more and I can't reach the distance with the 4mm. That is the only reason. I'm going to be banding them, but I've also got some 8mm for the band as well. Dead simple, really simple, pellet-based attack. Obviously, again, you know how much I love going down the natural route. You could go down the maggots and casters route, catch everything swimming, but I want to be a little bit more selective today. Hopefully catch you some carps and F1s. And the only difference I've got is for the Method, I've just got some wafters, you know, just some banded wafters, just for a change of colour, change of hook bait. You know, 2 or 3 casts with one colour. If I've not had anything, I will change that colour. But there's nothing complicated in my setup whatsoever. The main thing we're going to get used to is obviously where to cast to, how often we're casting to get that bait in whilst you're priming your other swimmers. But Method long, waggler right down the middle, and then Method down the edge. Basically exactly what you'd be doing on a pole, but we are having a nice rod day. So I think we need to go and catch some fishies. Right, it's finally time to get going then, folks. So as you can see, I've got an island in front of me. That's where I'm going to exploit first. You know, any commotion on the bank side naturally pushes the fish towards cover. So I've got a little gap. I'm just going to chuck in the middle of the gap. Not too far over though, because I'd imagine if I've got something quite angry, it's going to go through the gap and round one of the islands. So I want to come sort of this side, but aim for the middle of the gap. My next port of call is I've got a lovely patch of dark water opposite. It's got like a silvery, it's not a silver birch, but it's got like a silvery trunk. I don't know what tree it is, but that's what I'm going to be aiming my pellets at. And basically straight down the middle, which is probably 16 to 18 metres away. I'm going to feed 4mm pellets there. I'm not going to go nuts. I'm just going to put, you know, sort of like 15 to 20 in. And then obviously down the edge, I'm going to be putting them little balls of micros in, but I'm going to be loose feeding a few sort of 6 mils as well, just sparingly, just to get some fish in the area basically. And obviously, you know, whether you're fishing, you know, pleasure fishing or match conditions, you'd have either side going in. But I'm just going to focus on my right hand side today because it's more natural for me to throw down to the right hand side. So without further ado, I'm going to kick off on the method. I'm going to switch round to GoPro and show you a lovely lot what we're doing. So first thing we're going to do is get the Bandon wafter out. Now, personal preference with colours, I always like to start off on a pink, but my 3 favourite ones, as you can see in there, pink, yellow and orange, it's just one of them. You know, everyone's got their own personal preference, but basically that's what it looks like. Yeah, so a little spiker through a 6mm wafter. Bandy pelleted work or anything like that, folks, again, it's just personal preference. What I would say, it's weird day today. It's like boiling hot and then it goes freezing cold. You don't think we're like beginning of June. And what's going to happen is the sun will dry out your micro pellets. So make sure that you're covering them with a towel, like so. So again, loading the method. There's different ways of loading the method. You know, whether you want to put your bait on top first as a quick release, or you put it at the bottom. The first way I like to start though is load the method up like so, and then put my bait down towards the bottom, and then put the method over it so that my hook bait's completely covered. But if we get fast responses, and you see how hard I'm forcing that bait down, and that's what you're left with, yeah? So my hook bait is completely covered, micros are going to start to break down within seconds, and obviously the fish are coming in, pecking around that, and picking my hook bait out. If we're getting quick responses, and then what I'll do is I'll put my hook bait in first. There we go, perfectly clips up, and he's on. I'm not going to bother sinking the line to start with because you can get quick responses. If it's a really bad tow in the water, then I will do. In fact, yeah, I am going to. It's just started to tow a little bit with that wind. If it's flat calm, I'll just completely leave that, because some days you'll have it where, you know, the fish take it instantly. So we had a little tap then. So what you'll do in that respect is put your hook bait in the mould first, and then put your micros around it. So ease in. Now the other thing that's really important is that watch. Now I've casted in at 10:07. Now I want 3-minute cast to start off with. If it's mainly F1s, if it's carp, I might want to leave it a little bit longer, but find out what's in the venue. 3 minutes. Hey up, is he on? I'm bloody waffling, aren't I, folks? I'm bloody waffling. So bite straight away there, and just keep your rod nice and low. Oh, and we just spooked a big carp as well. I don't know what this is. It's something tiny. Might be a little stocky or a skimmer or something, but we definitely scooped a big carp there. That's a little stocky, this. Little baby stocky's starting off with. Well, he'll do them, won't he, folks? Although I can't even remember where I was blooming up to then. But even though it was a little babby one, perfectly hooked in the bottom lip. Look at that, folks. Perfect. Little babby one. So, we started off. We didn't even get a chance to blooming feed the waggler line. Never mind. Nice quick response. So you can see, like, obviously the micros have all come off. There's a little bit in the feeder. Just take them out, and then we'll load that up again. Again, pellets in first. So you can see, obviously covered with a towel. I'm not going to bother changing that hook bait because that'll be fine. And then a nice firm press down. And then away we go again. So obviously we're clipped up. So a nice firm cast, come back to your clip, and then rod tip on the rest. And then I'm gonna feed some pellets this time. So cover the micros back up. Look at the time we cast it in. So we're on 8. So I'm gonna leave that until like 11, and then I'm gonna bring that back and cast it in again, just to get some bait in. And then generally I'll go to like 5-minute cast, or if he's on. Fly my neck, I was just sinking my line there. I've not even fed the blooming waggler line yet, folks. Right, I'm not going to cast out, and I'll feed that waggler line. Another little babby one, this. So what I'll do now is I'll put my bait in first, because obviously they're straight on that feed. And I'll put my bait in first. Is it a chub? No way! We've got a chub, folks! Oh man, look at that, we've got a chub, Richard! Only the bestest fish in the whole wide world. Look at that. I've not caught a chub for absolutely ages. I'm going to have to give him a kiss, folks, because they are my favouriteest fish in the world. He's nailed it. Mwah! Oh, just I adore them. Can't wait to get back on the rivers, folks. It won't be long. Right, before we cast out again, just going to hook that up. I'm going to feed some pellets down the middle. I've not had a blooming chance to do it yet, have I? So, get some 4 mils. Not many. Know what we're feeding there? Sort of 15 to 20 if you like. I'm going to feed that 2 lots. Now, obviously, this wind's getting up right on cue now. If 4 mils don't reach it, then what I'll do is I'll pick some 6 mils up. But 4 mils should get to where I want to go. Yeah, that's perfect. So 2 lots of like 15 to 20. And, you know, I take note of when I feed them, because I don't want to go too giddy. I don't want to get... Obviously, I do want fish there, but the more I feed, the more chance I've got of, you know, bringing too many fish in and eventually ruining your peg. Loads of fish in, so I tend to feed them sort of like every 5 minutes. But, folks, that is my 5 minutes, so it might be a little bit more frequent than that. So I'm going to load this feeder a bit different this time, because I've had them 2 quick bites. I'm putting me hook bait in first, as you can see. I'll show the method this time what it looks like, and I'm putting my micros on top. And then what you'll have is that. So your hook bait's on top, yeah? Hook bait's on top, so that obviously as soon as that's cast in, that'll start breaking out, especially with it being a wafter, and it's somewhat visible for the fish to instantly home in them. Perfect. So let's get down there. I'm going to sink that line this time, simply because that wind's got up a little bit. That's it. And then tighten down to that a little bit. And then we need to feed this margin. What time did that go in? That went in at 11. Feed this margin. Richard's little trick, like that, Richard. Little tiny ball of micros, that's all we're feeding. It's the same that they'd be getting in a method. Yeah, little tiny sort of marble sized ball, and that goes in down that edge. But the other thing I'm going to do as well is just ping a few. Can I ping a few? No, he's on. He's come back towards me and he's fell off. He's only a little babby one. It's just get a few 6 mils, yeah, sort of like 10 to a dozen, and just throw them in. That noise will attract fish, obviously over a bit of an area, and that's what we want. Come on, the fishes, this is amazing. Little babby ones to start with, but it's all about getting bites, folks, isn't it? We're not bothered. Nice to get a big one for you, but not bothered in the slightest. All about getting bites to start with. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And again, I'm going to sink that line. And I'll probably give it another couple of feeds on that waggler line. That's gone in at 12. So again, sort of 15 to 20 pellets. And with that 3, I'm just going to give it 1 this time. Cover them back up, and then wait. I'm going to wait until it's proper on this time. That looked like it was on then, you know, a few little shakes, but there's no mistaking, certainly when they're proper hanging on, like that, yeah? Is it a little bit better? No, it's still a little bit, it might be a little bit better. But you see, there's no panic when I hook into, yeah, he's all right, him. There's no panic when I hook into the fish, folks, yeah? Literally just pick your rod up, there's no striking involved at all. Just pick your rod up, keep everything nice and low. And that's all there is to it. Nothing complicated. I mean, you'd stay on this, wouldn't you? Obviously, match conditions, you'd stay on this, but even if you're pleasure fishing, this is just amazing. It bites every go. Exactly what you want. Bites every go in. A little bit better. Could be small F1. Come on, the fishes. That might be a little popular, actually. Not blooming happy. Yeah, he is, little popular. So, and you can see how quick he's had it. Well, I've chucked in at 12, 12.10, and it run 13.46 now. Proper. Lovely, lovely little popular carp. Probably just over £1 or around £1. Beautiful little fish here. Not been caught before. So I reckon, I mean, obviously, if you were sort of, say, match conditions, you'd stay on that, wouldn't you? You wouldn't come off that. But even just going through your pleasure session, you wouldn't really come off that. Just carry on with it and then build your swim, you know. Bigger fish would come in. If you're getting smaller fish, maybe try different size hook bait, you know, going to an 8mm pellet or an 8mm wafter, anything like that. But just experiment with it. Experiment with the casting as well. What can happen, obviously we're getting fish really quick. If suddenly it changes and you're getting fish every sort of 10 minutes, just try a few quick casts just to get more bait back in and more fish back in. But the other thing that'll happen is, obviously, once you've extracted fish from a certain area, they will start to, you know, become a bit wary and back off, and that's when you change lines and go into the waggler, which we're going to go into next, because we've gone through everything on that one, folks, haven't we? Don't need to go through anything more on that. It's just a case of just keep casting in, catching your fish, and then obviously keep priming your waggler swim, and then that's where we're going to go on to next. But also we're going to keep priming the edge one. Are we going to go for it in one, Richard? We're not going to go for it in one, so let's go on to the waggler. Right then, so waggler time. Just before we go on to it though, I've only fed that method line down the edge once, so I'm going to put a little bit more bait in there. Little tiny nugget of the micros. He goes in. Oh, perfect. And I'm just going to put a few 6mm over the top as well. Don't want to go nuts with that. It's my feeding though, folks, isn't it? But I want to put a little bit of bait in. Cover them back up. Now, just before I chuck the waggler out, I want to talk you lovely lot how we're plumbed up. Again, we've covered this loads in, you know, our instructional videos, but it's quite important that you're doing it in the right way and not sticking a blooming plummet on, folks. Yeah. Choose. I'm going to do it from here, Richard. You can get that. Choose a large shot, so like a AAA or an SSG, something like that, and then use the band, because we're using obviously banded pellet today. Just use your band and put your band into the split, and that is how you plumb up, folks. Yeah, dead simple. Basically, keep casting until obviously if you can see your float, keep bringing your float down until you can't see it, and then just put it up another couple of inches just until you see that tip just on the water. Rich is looking at me funny, but that's all you want. You know, obviously, if it was windier, there's more undertow, just go more over depth, folks. We won't know until we get fishing how much actual tow we've got, but I'd imagine probably not going to be in there that long. So that's how we plumb up. We are going to be putting, in fact, I'll show GoPro on this one. We're going to be banding a 6mm. They are small 6mm then. Let me try and find a bigger one. Yeah, banding a 6mm. Like so. Couldn't find a bigger one, folks. Yeah, and that's it. So we know we've got that tree to aim at, so I'm going to overcast first because I want to sink my line. That's gone off a little bit to the right, but it doesn't matter because it's over a big area, that feed. I'm going to sink my line, bring that back until I've got a tight line. You see I've sunk my line. That's it. And I'm going to ping out some 4mm if I get a chance to and don't get a bite. It looks like it was going then. It is going. Is it going? Always going to feed at that same spot at that tree. I don't want to sort of like follow my float. The beauty of sort of like feeding 4mm pellets, it is going to naturally go over a bigger area. That does not bother me in the slightest. You know, cast around your feed. I've said that loads and loads of doing these videos. It does make a difference, casting around your feed. The other thing that makes a difference as well is them little tiny movements on your float that usually, like that, it usually induces a bite. So again, we'll go for that cast again, overcast, sink that line, bring the float back, and it's a little bit more to the left this time, but as I say, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'm going to put a few more pellets in. I'm not going to go nuts with them pellets. I can see this fish there. You see, I'm aiming for that tree every time, but then casting around me my baited area. Yeah, I can see this fish there. Obviously, it's silty out there, so I'm not going to go nuts with that feed. Not like me, is it? Now, because we had that last fish on a bit of a movement, I'm going to make sure I give it another one. My float coming up? Yeah, my float's come up. And usually you get that bite straight away. Something happened then. I nearly stuck them, folks. I nearly went for it then. Had a little tiny indication. Again, it was off that movement. Now what makes sure is that I've got a nice tight line to that float. So I will be checking that by giving it little tiny turns of my reel. And you'll notice that my rod tip is under the water as well, folks. It's very important that when you're sinking your line. If you had your rod tip out, then the wind's going to pick your line up and obviously move it off in whatever direction the wind's going, and that's where your point of contact is when you're striking. I want to make sure I'm tight to my float. Go on the Bublaze. There's some fish bubbling out there. So I'm reluctant to feed anymore while I've got some fish feeding like that. And this is the beauty, obviously. You know, we've got this margin swim on the go, we can feed that. We're getting regular bites on the method. But if that starts to go a bit quiet, you come off that, give it 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes on this. And then if obviously it's not working, yeah boy, you just nip back on that method. Ooh, you just nip back on that method or try down the edge. But it's sort of like, I do like to set the hook, I do like to strike pretty hard. And that's the beauty of obviously, you know, longer sort of softer rods, but also the stretching the line as well. Really allows you to set that hook. What's this going to be? I reckon little bobby carp. Little bobby carp, little bobby carp. Yeah, little bobby carp. Little bobby popular. Here we go. At this stage here as well, folks, I've again talked loads of this before. I do like to back wind. I'm just going to put the anti-reverse back on, and that rod gets tucked under your leg, keeping everything nice and tight so you're not tangling. Look at him, perfectly in the top lip. J-Lad would be proud. Lovely little common. Put him back, I'll have another go on that. So you can see, I'm going to change that pellet as well. You can see obviously casting around the area. I mean, don't worry if it goes off, it does not matter in the slightest. Band another pellet. And then we'll go overcast again. Feather that down, sink that line. Perfect. Perfect. Are we going to feed again? Not while this wind's a little bit strong. I had some indications on the drop then. I'm not going to feed again, just while this wind's a little bit strong. I can still see this fish there because there's bubbles coming up all over the place. Just going to give it a little twitch. That's where we had them last couple from. Right, that wind's dropped a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit more feed in. A few more 4 mils in for that tree. There we go, a little bit further past it. But again, not bothered. Not bothered. It's all about getting them fish in the area. Certainly on the waggler it is anyway. So we're casting around sort of, yeah, 16 metres, 17 metres, something like that. That was a swirl then. See, that'd make me think, if it was like, you saw that every time you fed, then obviously I'd change my setup a little bit. I'd move my shots under my float, maybe shallow up a little bit, and I'd be a lot more active in my casting, looking to catch some fish, you know, sort of through the water. That's just drifted out a little bit too much for me, that. A little bit of toe in the water, so I'm going to cast it in again. No, wind got that one, folks. The wind got that. So if the wind is a problem, and obviously you're noticing that when you're casting, just change the size of your float. I've got a 2 gram on here at the minute, so maybe change to a 3 gram. That's perfect, that one. If the wind can be a problem, it can be with a sideways, a crosswind like we've got, and only a lightish float, it can be a problem sometimes. That's right on that tree, that. Looks perfect. So again, he's in place. I'm not going to feed again because of that feed before. You can physically see there's fish there because of the bubbles as well. Go on a bee-bays. A little twitch, dink. Make sure you're in contact with your float. And also that bit of encouragement. Feed this margin one again. Pick some 6 mils up. Put some bait in down there. There we go. Another little twitch. Make sure you're in contact with it. There we go. It's got to go that. Oh, got buble right next to it then. Go on the fishies. Oh, look at that. There's fish all round that. Fish all round that, folks. Not going to be there long. That is not going to be there long. Come on. Go on the fishies. Hey! Flying through them. Go on the fishies. So good, folks, isn't it? I reckon it's a little bobby carp. But just shows you how many fish are there though, yeah, with them bubbles. And again, you know, if you're catching on something, don't come off it. Stick with feeding fish. If it were me, I'd just stay on this all the blooming time though, wouldn't I? It is rather good. But go on, the little babby mirrors. As it is, 2 quick fish like that, folks. So we're flying through these today. Little babby mirrors, beautiful fish them. We will get down the edge, I reckon now. that's that waggler done. So as I say, I've been feeding that. I've probably fed it another sort of 2 or 3 times. Whether it's a little bit early, I don't know, but we're going to give it a go, just to show you the difference, obviously, from fishing across on a method, fishing down the edge on a method. I'm going to change things up a little bit, change the size of my feeder, and probably the frequency of my casting, because usually in the edges, that's where the bigger fish rock up, so it's about the patient game. So let's get down the edge, down the edge. It's gone blooming cold, folks, but that does not stop us bringing you these quality videos, does it? So we're going down the edge now. I'm going to catch, we're going to catch, we'll probably get some like little baby stockies, but bearing in mind, folks, we're fast forwarding everything. Usually edge fishing, match conditions, it's normally after dinner time, you know, sort of 12:30, 1 o'clock, that's when you're looking to go down the edge, but we're going to give it a quick go and see what happens. So first thing, so we're on a 30 gram method across. I'm going to change that over now. I'm just going to show you how quick we can change these with these ICS systems. I'm going to change that to a 20 gram feeder. Reason being is we're not chucking too far. We're only going to gentle underarm lob and just sort of like feather the feeder down. So I don't want to make too much commotion. So we've changed that over to 20 gram feeder. Yeah, again, method hybrids, you know, pellet feeders, it's all personal preference. I'm still going to stick with the pink Bandams though, spikers, and I'm gonna, because it's going to be, well, I'm going to be a little bit more patient on this one. Probably going to give it a 5-minute cast, because I have been feeding it, been getting a little bit of feed in, whereas obviously the difference over there was no feed going in. That's why I give it them 3-minute casts, even though it didn't last 3 minutes, did it? Because we had a fish on. Down here, 5-minute cast for carp, sometimes a little bit longer. We'll see what's there. So micros in first, bait over the top, and then squash that, squash that method down. Now what you don't want to do down here, folks, is clip up, because generally sort of like obviously shallow water like that, there's so much more stretch in your line when we're fishing across there, and obviously you'll be fishing to sort of like islands and what have you. Down here the fish can just run, so don't clip up. And what I'll do, you'll see me as soon as it's in, I've got it set in place, I'll really reduce the tension on my drag. So stand up for this is best, and what I've got is a little bit of tension. So you can see I've wound that feeder up to sort of like halfway between my reel and my first eye, and I'm just going to bring that back under tension a little bit, and basically I'm going to swing that feeder out like so and just drop it in with a nice plop. Feel that down, and I want to pay line out. Obviously don't move the feeder, pay the line out, and I'll put that there so we're on a nice slack line. Come on the slack line. Oh, what's going on? Come on. Oh dear me, folks, ignore me. Right, here we go, nice slack line. Told you it's blooming windy, so we've got him on there, and just tighten down to that ever so gently. Lower that tip a little bit, and then what I am going to do is really take the tension off that drag, simply because the bites down there, they'll be absolutely ridiculous. Now I'm not going to loose feed over the top. We chucked that in at 1, so I already have a little liner there, so I'm going to wait till 6 and then bring that back in, cast it in again. Or I might not, that might change, you know, depending on how many sort of like indications, liners I'm getting, that'll change. But usually, as I say, it's later on into the session, that's when you can expect to get most from the edges. And I'm bearing in mind, obviously you'd have both sides going as well. I've just got one side going today. But, you know, whilst you're on this, you know, still ping a bit of bait out for your waggler line, still keep that going. And obviously we're still clipped up from before to the island, so every now and again I'll have 2 quick casts, you know, cast, hit your clip, you know, strike hard, release all them pellets, come back, do another one. Just keep fish interested. That's what it's all about, folks. Something about fishing rod and line, I absolutely adore it. It's brilliant. Lovely, lovely fishing. And the beauty of fishing like in this way as well, everything's to hand, you've got your hands free. It does allow you to obviously feed your other swims and what have you. We are getting a few indications there. Just going to take the tension off that a little bit. Could be small fish. Not hardly got a bend on that tip whatsoever. It's basically a straight rod, don't want much tension. See, there's another little dink then. It could be anything, folks. There could be gougeons, it could be little baby skimmers, it could be them little carp. There seems to be a lot of little stockies in, so it could be them messing with it. Who knows? Who knows? Here we go. That was nice and quick, folks, wasn't it? Loads of liners. As I said, my tip didn't stop moving. Big F1, I think this. It just shows you, obviously that's really early, that. That's gone well quick. It just shows you how quick they'll come in. I wasn't expecting to get a fish that quick actually, but oh yes, good enough ones. It just shows you all 3 swims, all produce fish really quick. Nothing. Oh, whoa, we stabbed at him then, folks. We blooming stabbed at him. I thought he was bigger than that. It's blooming angry. There we go. Yeah, all 3. You can see how quick it took it. Obviously, they've still got micros around our method. Good enough ones. Beautiful little babish one. Just over £1. So obviously, there's a lot of stockies in here. But you know, the longer you leave it, the bigger fish will, you know, eventually move in. And you can just have a fantastic day. What I'd probably do, you know, pleasure fishing or on a match, I'd have a cast down that side, rest it, go on that side, rest it, and if you can alternate like that, I can see some swirls coming up again already. So it's just awesome, isn't it? As I say, them three swims, which you'd be doing exactly the same as a pole, but there's just something about rod and line fishing, isn't there, folks? It's just absolutely amazing. But I hope you've enjoyed that, folks. I've definitely enjoyed that. I'm going to catch me some more, but as always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, folks, and that'll let you know when we're putting out these fantastic videos for you all to enjoy. So I'm going to catch me some more, and then I'm probably going to go to the pub.